Good morning, and welcome to St. John's Everyday. This week, we've been learning about Thomas, about his character, about his legacy, and about his doubts. And today, we're going to learn about his response. Today's passage is found in John chapter 20, verse 26 to 27, which starts out: A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. I'm going to stop it right there because that really struck me. A week later. It's been a full week since Thomas made his famous statement about, unless I see, I won't believe. A week. During that time, the other disciples have been rejoicing. They've been telling the story over and over again to each other and marveling that God raised Jesus from the dead. They're trying to understand what it all means and how it fits into what they know about God. But not Thomas. I wonder what that week was like for him. This was not a week of celebration for him. It wasn't a week of joy. He didn't leave the disciples, he didn't turn his back on them or on Jesus, but he wasn't a part of that celebration either. He'd already expressed his main doubts, but I imagine he probably began to doubt his doubts as much as he had doubted what his friends had seen. That's a really hard place to be in, that place of not knowing what to believe. Personally, I suspect Thomas probably wanted to believe, that he probably had some pretty awkward conversations with the other disciples during that week. But it seems like he was stuck. On one hand, he wanted to believe that God is real, that all of his promises had been fulfilled, and that his friend Jesus wasn't really dead. But at the same time, he remembered the whip, and he remembered the spear in the side, and the blood that he'd seen fall from Jesus' body. How could he take that step? How could he commit himself to what sounded impossible? I think it was probably a pretty rough week for Thomas. I also suspect that there's at least one person listening today that has a really good idea of how Thomas felt. Your doubts seem bigger than your hope, and you feel stuck. You don't want to walk away, but you don't know how to commit. For Thomas, the story didn't end there because he didn't walk away. He could have. He could have voiced his doubts and called it done. But at the end of that terrible week, he was with the disciples in the house when this happens. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, Peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe. Can you imagine what that must have been like for Thomas? Can you imagine that moment? How complicated his emotions must have been? Here was his friend, his teacher, the person Thomas had pledged his life to, back from the dead. His friends were right, and could anything be better? But the flip side must have been pretty complicated as well. Here was Jesus saying, Look, here I am. You said you wouldn't believe unless you could see my hands and touch the hole in my side. So here it is. These are the hands. Here's my side. Stop doubting and believe. I don't know why, but I feel really strongly that someone listening today needs to hear those words. Stop doubting and believe. This is both a command and an invitation. Jesus is saying, Look, I've proven myself to you, so you don't need those doubts anymore. Hope has won. It's not that you won't ever doubt anything else, but you don't ever need to doubt me again. The misery of doubt is over. You can let it go and trust me. That is an amazing invitation. And if that invitation is for you today, I pray that you respond just like Thomas did. Because if I look forward a bit and read the next few verses, it says, Thomas said to him, My Lord and my God. That was it. You can hear it in those words. The doubt is gone. Scripture doesn't say it, but I cannot imagine Thomas still being on his feet. I can only picture this with him falling on his knees and crying out, My Lord and my God, as all those doubts are washed away in one precious, precious moment. And then, lastly, in a statement that seems less about Thomas and more about us, Scripture goes on to say, Then Jesus told him, Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen me and yet have believed. Not all of us will have such a dramatic moment when our doubts are swept away, but here Jesus pronounces a blessing on you and on me. And I think that blessing, in that blessing, there also comes a promise that Jesus can overcome our doubts, even today. I hope that encourages you.